friends and neighbors, and welcome back to the Gifts of Glory podcast, where we celebrate and promote men and women of God that use their gifts, passions, desires, and talents to honor and glorify our God. All that we do with Gifts of Glory Ministries, from our improv team's well-versed comedy and matrimony, to PureFest, to my own personal teaching, coaching, acting, and speaking, it's all done with the hashtag OGHG, Our Gifts, His Glory. And thank you very much for joining us for this episode. I am your host, Dave Ebert, and today we get to talk to Michael Delbonis, John Bouvier, and Gabby McDonald from Lee University's Kingdom Players, one of our featured acts coming to PureFest on September 28th at Cross Point Church in Lockport, Illinois. If you're unsure of what PureFest is, no problem. We're in our second year, and we're really excited about what PureFest 2019 is going to bring. PureFest is Chicago's faith-based improv and sketch festival, highlighting individuals and troops from around the nation to come to Chicagoland, fellowship, build community together, then enjoy a platform specifically for them, and then to showcase their talents, desires, and gifts to the world. PureFest was founded with those three main goals in mind: build and promote community among Christian performers, provide a platform for those performers to share their talents, and invite the world to come and enjoy live theater that is clean and safe for the entire family. If you're currently or are able to be in the Chicago area on September 28th, it's a Saturday, come on down to PureFest at Cross Point Church in Lockport, Illinois. Bring the family, bring the whole office, bring your church. It's going to be a great day. You can find out more about PureFest at purefest.org. And on this week's interview, we get to hear from the director of Lee University's Kingdom Players. It's a theater ministry based in Cleveland, Tennessee, as well as two of his senior stars, Gabby McDonald and John Bouvier. We talk PureFest, Kingdom Players, faith, and performing. I hope you enjoy this interview and getting to know just a small sampling of these awesome college students and their amazing team. So let's now hear from the Kingdom Players on the Gifts of Glory podcast. And welcome back to the Gifts of Glory podcast. This is Dave Ebert, now joined by representatives from Cleveland, Tennessee, Lee University, the Kingdom Players. We'll let you guys go introduce yourselves, maybe working from Gabby on over, and introduce yourselves and tell us who you are and your role with the Kingdom Players. And since we have two students, tell us what year you're in and what you're hoping to do after college.
Hi, I'm Gabby McDonald. I am the oldest member on the team. I'm a senior, and after college, kind of plan on working, planning a wedding, getting married, all that stuff. So just kind of seeing where the Lord takes me.
Oh, does that mean that you're currently engaged?
Yes, it does.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Michael?
I'm Michael Delbonis. I'm the director of Kingdom Players, starting in my 7th year in this role. Was a member of, Lee used to have 2 different drama teams. Back when I was a student, I was a member of the other one, and that is no longer a thing. I was a youth pastor before this, and took this over in 2013 as the director.
And then I am Jonathan Bouvier. I am a senior member on Kingdom Players, so this is going to be my 4th year. After college, I plan on, I'm also getting married, not to Gabby, to another girl. But yeah, we're engaged, and so kind of starting that whole life together, and then as well as finding work in video production and filmmaking, hopefully.
Nice. All right, so you guys are just a small contingent of the Kingdom Players. Tell us about the Kingdom Players now and what some of the productions that you're doing look like, and what maybe the theme is that you're working with.
Yeah, I think Kingdom Players, I guess you could kind of generalize it and call it drama ministry, but I think the way I like to explain what we do is we create relatable content through skits and human videos. We create content that people watch us and Christians watch us, and they see hopefully things that they've gone through or they're going through the scenarios that we put up. I mean, it's our ministry. We believe that Jesus in his ministry, he told parables, he told stories. And that's kind of what we aim to do. We tell stories to kind of show people or challenge them in their walk with the Lord.
So, Michael, you say you took over in 2013 as a director. What attracted you to taking over this venture and leading Kingdom Players?
So I knew about the team being a Lee student. I knew what Kingdom Players was, and had been following them, obviously, ever since I was a student in the early 2000s. And when the director before me stepped down, his boss kind of reached out to me because he was actually my boss when I worked at Lee before being a youth pastor. He married my wife and I, so we've had a good relationship. And before being a youth pastor, I wanted to go into acting, much what John is wanting to do. That's kind of my world. That's what I wanted to do. So he knew my background of acting, but also being in ministry. And of course, I love Lee. So that's kind of the trifecta of this job, is that I'm not on stage with them, but kind of working with them and doing the drama thing, getting to still minister and speak when we go places, but also, of course, work at Lee. So it was just kind of the perfect opportunity. He called and offered it to me, and felt like it was kind of a win-win all around. And it's been great ever since. I mean, maybe one or two bad days, but for the most part, it's pretty good.
Well, with ministry, there's always going to be those challenges, those ups and downs, especially when you're ministering to people. If you try to minister to cats and dogs, you kind of know what's going to happen. But when it's people, that's the challenge. Yep. So, Gabby, what got you into acting and performing with the Kingdom Players?
I actually found out about it through a family friend who actually knows Michael and Katie very well. But I also heard about how they're an acting troupe and how they go out and really share the love of the Lord. And that's something that I really wanted to do. I love acting, and I wanted to find a way to put those two passions together and really find a way to be a light in the world with my acting abilities. And so when I found out about Kingdom Players, I thought that's the perfect place to do that. And then I really also wanted a way to find a family at Lee, and I knew that was where God was calling me to do that. And so I decided to join, and it's been the best decision.
Perfect. And so, John, didn't really hear about, or I didn't ask you yet, how did you find the Kingdom Players? What was your motivation getting there?
Yeah. So it was a total God thing. So growing up, I felt that calling into ministry. I felt like I was called to be a pastor. And looking back, I don't know if that calling was from the Lord or from my mom, but that was something I really, really wanted to do, and eventually kind of fell into the whole acting thing later on in high school. And I really struggled with it. And I said, God, I feel like I'm called to be, a preacher. I'm called to be on stage, but behind a pulpit. But I feel like I'm pretty good at this acting thing. I really enjoy it. It's where I feel like I found my thing. And throughout, it was really my junior/senior year of high school where I just learned from God, like anything can be a ministry. And so that's obviously the same time I was looking at colleges. I looked at Lee, found out about Kingdom Players. So I heard about them before I even came to Lee. And as soon as I heard about it, I said, well, wow, that is like the perfect merging. That's, like Gabby said, it's the perfect of two worlds, of the acting world and the ministry world. And it's, it's just that perfect fit for me.
So in the writing and creating process, what is the process? Where do you get your inspiration for your material? Because based on what John had said, it sounds like pretty much everything is original. So where does the inspiration come from, and how does it go from inspiration to stage or video?
Yeah, and I'll kind of jump in. They can add to this, but typically kind of the way I operate is we travel all year up through June, and then they have July off. And so basically I ask that in the month of July, each of them either write a skit or at least come up with the bones of a skit, and then we work on it when we come back. So classes start this Wednesday. We'll be taking on new members this Tuesday, which you may want to talk about in a minute, but then we'll go on a retreat together this coming weekend. And that's kind of the first time we're with the new members, and we'll kind of start talking about the content, what we want to do. And so typically, it's hard to have 8 people write one skit. And so it's usually just one person kind of has their vision, they write it, we look at it, maybe mess with it a little bit, change it, and then just make sure everybody's on board with the message we're wanting to give. And so to kind of go back to the original question, some of the content is based on real life experience. We have a skit that we'll probably do when we come up there that focuses on families and just the realness of how families, what they deal with. And I don't want to give too much away right now, but and that was birthed out of a real life experience of someone on the team. So we find that's the best way to do it when you're actually going through something, to be able to relate to someone going through something similar. And some more of the funny stuff we do is more just things that we've kind of observed in church and just kind of found funny, and I think we can make a skit out of it. So I don't know if you guys, but
yeah, I mean, I kind of mentioned our goal is to create relatable content. When people watch us, they see themselves in what we're acting out, and I think that all starts in the writing process. Everything that we do, the Kingdom players, we relate to it first and foremost, because if we don't relate to it, then the audience isn't going to relate to it. Or if we don't relate to it, our hearts might not be in it. And your heart kind of has to be in it when you're dealing with something as serious as ministry.
Sure. How about you, Gabby? Being a senior, you have obviously been part of this process now at least 3 years. What inspirations have you had in your writing?
I've had a lot of inspirations of things that I've gone through personally, and a lot of my emotions that comes through, like how I portray things, and especially like how I intro some skits as well. A lot of it comes through just like things that my family and I have gone through. My dad's been going through a lot of sickness since I've been 11 years old, and that's really been a big fuel for me to really find a way to relate to each skit, just because it's just had a plethora of emotions come with it. So that's kind of my way of finding out what I want to put into a skit.
All right, great. And do you have any skits or any sketches that you carry over year to year to travel with, or do you start with a clear slate each year?
So there's some that there's one that we've been doing since I took over. Like we wrote it was the first one we wrote in 2013, and that may sound a little bizarre, but it's kind of our closer. And it's one of those that, man, 6 years later, like I'm still not sick of it. It's kind of just one of those that just kind of gets you. And so there's none that are that old, but there's, we may write something, in the spring, and that's still kind of new. So that'll carry over, of course, in the next year. And we evaluate every fall. We kind of look at our material and say, this one's good. Do we want to keep it? I have another idea that could replace that. For example, my first year, I had 2 girls on the team that we wrote a skit with them, and it actually kind of started out as improv and kind of just became their thing. And as much as I wanted to keep it, it was kind of their thing. And so when they graduated 4 years later, I just said, let's let it graduate with them, because that was kind of their thing. So that happens, but so it's a little bit of both.
All right. So for John and Gabby, in your going on 4 years now, do you have a favorite piece that you guys have performed that you kind of hope will graduate with you, or that you are looking forward to passing on?
Oh man, there's one that we're doing right now, and it's actually a funny skit, and it's one that it's a funny skit, but I think the message still hits as hard as any other skit. And it's about testimonies, and it's set up like Alcoholics Anonymous group, or Alcoholics Anonymous, is that what it's called? AA.
I don't know, John. I don't go to those.
It's set up like an AA meeting. It's called Christians Anonymous, and it's just so fun every time that we do it. And I've even, when we're kind of at the beginning of a service and we're trying to make people laugh, you don't always feel like they're going to connect with that as much as they are going to connect with the really serious, hard-hitting stuff. But I feel like that one still connects, and we get to like have that fun on stage. So I'd say that's probably my favorite one right now.
Mine would have to be the same. I probably connect with that one the most, just because I've always felt very insecure about my testimony. Like I never really have anything to share, but that skit in particular really speaks to me, just because it does say that, everybody has a testimony, no matter how big or small. So that one's probably my favorite, to kind of just see how everybody else will take those parts and turn it into their own. So. And
they're like the goofiest characters
too.
So
Very nice. All right. And so on your, you're doing the retreat next weekend, you're going to determine how long do you normally perform for when you're out on the road? How long is your normal show?
So normal would be about 50 to 60 minutes. And what that typically includes would be 7 or 8 skits, and then introducing the entire, and they intro every skit. It's 98% them. I get up, I'll intro the team, and then I close it out with just kind of speaking for a few minutes, just kind of put a bow on everything. But I tell churches, nothing's a deal breaker. We do some places just say, yeah, we just want 20 minutes, and the pastor's still going to speak. And so it's usually, like I said, 9 times out of 10, about 50 minutes, just depending on where we go.
What's the longest you guys have performed?
I don't know. I guess I've had a couple places that have asked, "Can you go an hour and a half?" And I'm like, I mean, we can, but I don't want them to get bored. And the worst is like if they say, if we're going to like a camp or something and we're going to be there 2 or 3 nights and they're like, yeah, we want an hour and a half each night. And I'm like, how much material do you have? Like this is, these are 4-minute skits. We don't have 85 things we can pick from. So the longest, I mean, probably a little over an hour, but that's if we know it's like a big crowd and they just say, go as long as you want. And we might just say, let's do 9 things and me still speaks. I mean, 9 is usually 9 skits are about, I think does that sound right to you guys? I mean, that's almost like, man, we're about dead after that just because it's just a lot back to back to back, 9 skits. So
it also depends. Michael said that we all intro each skit. Some of us can get a little long-winded. Some of us can be super short-winded.
That is true too. Yeah.
So that plays into it a lot. But we have probably 15, I'd say 15 or 16 skits that we're ready to do at any moment. But we typically stick to 8 or 9.
Yeah.
How about the university community? How have they been supportive of the Kingdom Players? Do you do a lot on campus for them to come watch?
We're pretty involved in like campus events when there's prospective students coming. We just did a skit for new student orientation just yesterday, I guess. And so, they like to showcase us a little bit. They let us step into the spotlight here and there. And we've done chapel services in the past. So most of our performances are off campus for sure. But every now and then we get to do something on campus, and that's always good to get to share with our students. Because it's a ministry, absolutely. And a lot of times ministry means going out and rather than so I think that's kind of the mindset that we kind of have behind it.
Yeah, and Lee does, like many other schools, we have several, visit days and recruitment days. Our biggest one is called Lee Day, and then we have 8 or 9 smaller events called Frontline on a Friday or Monday throughout the semester. And so we get to do a couple of things at Frontline at the end of the day, and then Lee has several different traveling choirs as well. And so one of our groups called Voices of Lee, they're an a cappella group. They close the day out, so we kind of share that with them as far as Frontline goes. And then I don't need to talk too much about this, but at the Lee Day event in April, we write a big event that goes on there called Life at Lee, and it's basically a lighthearted look at Lee. And so it's like an hour and a half show that we get to write. And again, it's not a Kingdom Players deal, but it is a Kingdom Players deal in the sense that we write it all. So that's another way to kind of showcase us without saying, hey, this is Kingdom Players, if that makes sense.
Okay. So anytime that you've done the big April event, has that inspired something that you later write into your next year's work?
That's how we got How to Be a Christian. So
yeah.
It's happened for sure. They're 2 totally different shows.
Right.
Yeah. Our Kingdom Players, obviously, like we talked about as a ministry, like it's primarily for churches, youth camps, things like that. Life at Lee is 100% just a let's make them laugh and try to get them to lead just because it's fun here. So definitely you're not having an altar call after Life at Lee by any means. So
And we'll hear more from John, Gabby, and Michael from the Kingdom Players coming to PureFest September 28th. Up next, we're going to talk about their testimonies and their walks of faith, plus a lot more. And I'm really looking forward to meeting the whole team at PureFest, which the whole event is going to be a lot of fun for the whole family. You can get your tickets online at Eventbrite. The link is purefest2019.eventbrite.com. purefest2019.eventbrite.com. Tickets are $10 each, or for families of 4 or more, everybody in the family gets in for just $35. Make plans to support groups like the Kingdom Players, My Team Wellverse Comedy, as well as all the other groups coming to PureFest, Chicago's faith-based improv and sketch festival. It all goes down September 28th, 1 p.m., doors open at 12 at Cross Point Church in Lockport, Illinois. More details at purefest.org. And we're going to be back with more from the Kingdom Players in just a moment on the Gifts of Glory podcast. So we kind of danced around it earlier in talking about your backgrounds. I'll let whoever wants to go first go, but tell us a little bit about your testimony about how you came to Christ and how that's led you now to Lee University. Whoever wants to go first.
I grew up in a Christian home, so that's like the majority of my testimony. Just like I've always gone to church, had a relationship with Christ. I accepted the Lord into my heart when I was in 3rd grade. So that's just always been a big part of my life. I did, oddly enough, I told myself when I was like looking for colleges, I said, I do not want to go to Lee.
Because you're from here.
I'm from here and my sister went to Lee. Sorry. And so I wanted my own college experience. But I did know that as wanting to be a theater major, I wanted to go to a Christian school because there was going to be boundaries within which shows we could do. So I did know I wanted to go to a Christian school. But my mom finally was like, Gabby, just go to Lee and just check it out. And I did, and I fell in love with it. And it was really like the Lord was saying, Gabby, this is where you're supposed to be. And I really feel like Kingdom Players is kind of why I'm supposed to be here. They've just really changed my life in a completely different way than I would have ever expected. I'm more open now, and I am willing to tell people about my testimony a little bit more. And so that's kind of my testimony as a whole.
And that's probably one of the hardest testimonies, is because, like you mentioned earlier, you feel maybe like it's not good enough, or maybe it's, there's no highlights to it. But it's very easy to walk in a Christian home and then get bored with it and think that you can make your own path. And then to be able to stay faithful to it, that's a testimony to show that, it's, and I'm sure it wasn't easy all along, because the enemy is very adamant about taking who he can. So, I always want to commend people who have had, the Christian home and kind of had the full Christian experience that whole, their whole life, because it is very easy to get bored or easy to get distracted. So very commendable, and don't ever be shy to share your testimony.
Thank you.
So yeah, my testimony, basically, I was also born into a Christian home. My dad was actually a youth pastor / traveling speaker. He's one of those guys. We moved around a lot, and he was also, when he was 15, he fell off his bicycle and hit his head, and it kind of messed his whole body up, and he was just in and out of the hospital for as long as I could remember. And finally, when I was 8 years old, he passed away, and that was very hard. But it was also, I was finally at an age where I could kind of understand, oh wow, death is real. Life is it's like a vapor, as the Bible says. And even as an 8-year-old boy, I started asking really hard questions, and thankfully my mom is an amazing Christian, and she surrounded me in an amazing church and with a great atmosphere, and lots of godly men to answer my questions. And through that, eventually my youth pastor led me to the Lord. And so in a way, the passing of my dad kind of led to my salvation, or led to me asking the right questions. And ever since then, it's not like it gets easier as soon as you accept the Lord, but it's a walk. And I feel like I have, I've learned a lot in the past, 12 years since anyone's going to learn a lot since they're 8 years old, but that's how I came to know the Lord. And good. That's my story. Huh?
Awesome. Now, Michael, do you want to share, or do you want to keep that teacher, coach, player bond?
Well, I don't know if you wanted me to or not. I can if you'd like.
I don't even know where he's from.
No, like them, raised in a Christian home, went to church my whole life, accepted the Lord at a young age. And I'm a little older than them, so I'll try to keep on short because I've lived a little longer than them. But a big part of my testimony is my best friend and I were in a car wreck when I was 14. He was 17. And I don't have time to tell the whole story, of course, but kind of a freak accident. We both fell asleep and didn't have a seatbelt on. And he was ejected from the car. And they called him. They said he had died 2 days later, but some said they think he may have died on impact. But being 14 and experiencing that was traumatic, was a big deal, and so that caused me, like John, asking questions. The question of why am I still here? What's the point? Ryan was a stud. Everybody loved him. I'm just Michael. This is what's the point? And so, and I, even as a 36-year-old, I still ask those questions sometimes. But I was, like we said, just kind of raised right, and parents stuck with me and continued to keep me on the path. And I didn't want to come to Lee, kind of like Gabby. I'm not from here, but everyone I knew went here because our sponsoring denomination, the Church of God, is what I was raised in. And so a lot of people that I knew came here. So I came to visit, loved it. Didn't really know what I wanted to do, and just kind of said, you know what, I'm going to be a youth pastor. They work 1 day a week, eat pizza on Fridays with kids. This is easy. So I took a youth ministry class my first semester at Lee and realized, oh, yeah, you've got to be called to do this. So always wanted to be an actor, but just felt like it was unattainable. And so changed my major, wanted to go that route. And again, did eventually actually believe I was called to do youth ministry, and did that for about 5 years. And so, it's been a journey. I mean, I think the biggest part of my testimony is the wreck that I was in, and just like God had another plan. I'm here for a reason. And I do believe a big part of that is Kingdom Players. Like I said, this is my 7th year, and someone actually asked me, I think yesterday, how much longer do you think you see yourself doing this? And like, I don't know, because I love it. In sight, which hopefully they're okay with that, but
we're in December.
They're
done in December. They don't care. But no, so I mean, it's just, I think the biggest thing for me, like I said, just the wreck and just trusting God and just living day by day. So.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you very much for opening up and sharing. It's not always easy. I'm very outgoing, and I do improv and perform. So, I'm always comfortable with sharing, sometimes oversharing. So I know it's not easy for everybody, so I appreciate it.
Of course.
So you guys are coming up September 28th for PureFest to perform. We've got a stacked lineup. We've got 8 teams right now scheduled to be on there. So I know that you guys have the retreat coming up, and that's probably where we're going to nail down what you're going to perform. But give our audience a preview, or kind of sell them on why they should come out and see the Kingdom Players on September 28th.
Man, wow!
Say because we're awesome. That'll be fine.
I mean, we're awesome.
Just kidding.
Okay. Well, Kingdom Players. Something that's really awesome about Kingdom Players is that we have all different kinds of people on the team. People from all different sorts of backgrounds, all different kinds of majors, because we are a school. And it's really like this melting pot of just totally different personalities that all come together on one stage and have one goal in mind, and that is to show people the love of Jesus and show people who Jesus is and show people the relationship that God wants with them through our actions on the stage. Whether that be funny, and hopefully sometimes, it's really funny, or whether that be the most serious, intentional, and intimate moment that we can have on stage. And we're going to try and bring all of that out. We're going to try and always have that connection. And then even off the stage, we are always going to be in the crowds with the people. At churches, we go worship with them. We pray with them. We want to create relationships, not just on the stage. We want to go even further past that. So we hope to do that with everybody we come in contact with. And that's kind of what we are as a team.
I mean, you're going to see 8 to 10 young adults who are just performing and really talking about something that they're very passionate about. You're going to see us not just talking about what we believe, but also living what we believe. At least I feel that way. So it's really something special in my eyes, just being able to minister with your friends to a group of people that maybe this is the only way that they get to be ministered to. So it's just something super special just to come see and just to be a part of.
Awesome. Now, one thing that I did want to ask is, everyone that comes to the Kingdom Players, are they already a believer, or have you had somebody that's just an actor that maybe later found Christ through being part of the Kingdom Players?
So I've not experienced that. In my 6 years, it's always been people that, and we talk about faith in the audition process and kind of see where they're at. And I've never experienced it where someone was, I don't want to say struggling with their faith, because I think we all do at points, but where someone didn't know Christ in a personal way. Are there people at Lee like that? Absolutely. But as far as people auditioning for Kingdom Players, that's not been something I've had to deal with.
Okay.
We're
Awesome.
called Premier Traveling Drama Ministry Team, and we're at the Church of God School. So I feel like there aren't too many non-believers that are just jumping at that opportunity. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, the one thing I like to do at the end of every interview is something called the interrogation, where I'll shoot out 7 questions. Most of them will be lighthearted, but there'll be a couple that may be challenging. And what we'll do is we'll just when I give you the first question and the next question, whoever wants to jump on it, then everyone else take a turn. All right. So first question: favorite food?
Italian in general.
Sorry about that.
You guys?
Oh, are we all answering the same
Yeah.
question?
I'm
Oh,
sorry. Chicken.
oh, geez. Ice cream.
There you go.
All right. Favorite sport and favorite team in that sport?
Football, Dallas Cowboys.
Boo. Baseball, New York Yankees.
Football, Florida Gators.
Boo
Chomp,
again.
chomp.
So we have 3 people that need prayer for their sports. All right. Question number 3: biggest fear on stage?
Forgetting every line.
That my fly is down.
Really having to use the restroom.
All right. Question number 4: biggest regret in life?
Oh my goodness.
That's easy. I'm going to go first. Never getting to see Michael Jordan play live.
Oh, man.
That's a hard one.
That is a hard one.
It's like I'm 21 years old. I have so much more to regret later on.
I
have no idea.
Sorry, I have regrets. I don't want it to make it sound like I'm
Right.
perfect. Not meeting Michael Delbonis earlier in life.
There you go.
I'm gonna get a little serious. Not enjoying Kingdom Players as much as I could have my first year on it.
Okay. Fair enough. Now, question number 5 is, what is your dream job once you 2 finish college, or if and when Michael leaves the league?
Probably to be a film actress.
Film actor.
If I had to pick something else, I would love to be a stand-up comedian. Like I've always, Jerry Seinfeld's my hero, so I would love to do something like that.
That'd be great.
Okay, thanks.
Question number 6: how good are Lee University athletics?
They're pretty dang good, I think. I don't.
So, I mean, I won't go into a bunch of specifics because these are just these quick questions, but we try to be at the top of our game. Our track and field team, they dominate every year. Women's soccer went to the Final Four 2 years ago for the first time. We've just gone NCAA. This is our 5th year. We were NAIA Division I for several years and are now NCAA D2. So definitely making progress and getting better every year.
They're good enough to where I wouldn't make the soccer team. So.
All right, final question we're going to ask for the interrogation. What would you love to see happen with the Kingdom Players?
I think I would like to see it to continue to grow and be the family dynamic that it is, and just to continue being close and just never having an issue. Like, it's hard to explain, but just that it always stays close.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's at a place where the team, like, they all genuinely love each other. They love spending time together. They hang out outside of Kingdom Player services and events, and so I love that. I mean, I would definitely love for us to maybe have more of a we go across the country, but I would love for us to be maybe more known across the country and maybe even have a global impact. We went to Cambodia in 2015, but it's such a quick trip, and I would love for us to be able to expand our reach in that regard.
Mine's kind of playing off of what Michael just said. I want us to get into the video world. YouTube is huge right now. It's the biggest by far social media platform. And we just put out our first high quality video this summer. It's called
Get Up and Walk.
Get Up and Walk. I think the plays, you can go watch it on YouTube. And I would really like to see us. It's the same idea of just like writing something creative that, it's relating to faith and kind of helping people in their walk, hopefully. I just want us to kind of keep pushing those out because I think those can have an even bigger impact than where we can go.
Awesome. Well, Gabby, John, and Michael, thank you so much for coming on the Gifts of Glory podcast. We're really looking forward to September 28th and seeing you guys bring some great talent to our stage here in Lockport, Illinois. I'll give you guys the final comment. Anything you want to say about yourselves, about Kingdom Players, or Lee?
Both are fantastic. And it's really been the best decision I've made.
I would just like to ask Michael to do some of his stand-up comedy right now.
Right now, absolutely.
But
Well, it's more the kind of comedy. You got to see it in person, so the listeners out there wouldn't fully get it. So maybe we'll wait for September 28th.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, we'll just wait.
Yeah, in Chicago. You'll see.
Yeah. But Dave, we do want to say thanks so much for
Absolutely.
inviting us to be part of the day, of the weekend, and just for doing this podcast. It's awesome. We're all very much looking forward to it.
Can't wait.
Outstanding. We're looking forward to seeing you guys, and God's blessings for your travels coming up.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.